Jamal Williams stood in front of his bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the third time. He was 28 years old and today could change everything. His hands shook slightly as he smoothed down his shirt. This was not just any interview. This was Tech Vista Solutions, one of the fastest-growing technology companies in Boston. He walked back to his small apartment's living room and sat down at his desk. His laptop was already open, showing the video call screen. The interview would start in 15 minutes. Jamal took a deep breath and looked at the framed diploma on his wall. Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He had worked so hard for that degree, late nights, endless studying, pushing through moments when he felt like giving up. But he had made it. Jamal was not just another candidate. He had real achievements. 3 patents in software development, 5 years of experience at smaller tech companies, letters of recommendation from some of the biggest names in the industry. His former boss had called him brilliant. A professor from MIT had written that Jamal was one of the best students he had taught in 20 years. Still, Jamal felt nervous. He had been through many interviews before. Some went well, others did not. He had learned to spot certain signs. The way interviewers looked at him. The surprise in their voices when he answered technical questions correctly. The comments about how well he spoke. He tried not to think about those experiences now. Tech Vista was different, he told himself. They were known for innovation. They talked about diversity and inclusion on their website. The job posting had excited him immediately. Senior software engineer, leading projects, working with cutting-edge technology. The salary was excellent too. It would mean he could finally pay off his student loans faster. Maybe even help his mother with her medical bills. Jamal opened the job description one more time. He had memorized it already, but reading it again made him feel more prepared. They wanted someone with expertise in cloud computing. He had that. They needed experience with multiple programming languages. He knew 7. They wanted someone who could lead a team. He had done that at his last 2 jobs. His phone buzzed. It was a text from his mother. "Good luck, baby. I'm praying for you." "You're going to do great," Jamal smiled. His mother always believed in him, even when he struggled to believe in himself. He texted back a heart emoji and a thank you. Across town at Tech Vista's main office, something interesting was happening. The company had started a new program called Transparent Hiring. They wanted to show employees how they selected new team members, so some interviews were broadcast internally. Any employee could watch and learn about the process. In the large conference room, a screen showed the announcement. Today's interviews will be available on the internal network. CEO Min-Jun Park may observe remotely while traveling. Several employees made notes. Some were curious about the candidates. Others wanted to see how the process worked. Min-Jun Park was indeed traveling. He was in Singapore for a business conference, but he made time to check on things back home. He believed in being involved. Tech Vista was his creation, built from nothing 10 years ago. He had arrived in America from South Korea with dreams and determination. Now his company employed over 500 people. Min-Jun opened his laptop in his hotel room. He wanted to observe at least one interview today. He believed good leadership meant staying connected. He clicked on the internal broadcast link and saw the schedule. 3 interviews today. The last one caught his attention. Jamal Williams, MIT graduate. Impressive background. He decided to watch that one. Back in the Tech Vista office, 2 people entered the conference room. Derek Hamilton was the senior recruiter. He was 42, with perfectly styled hair and an expensive suit. He had worked at Tech Vista for 3 years. Lisa Morrison was the HR manager. She was 38, always professional looking with a sharp voice. She had been with the company for 2 years. Derek and Lisa set up their laptops and checked the camera. "Ready for this one?" Derek asked. Lisa nodded and looked at her notes. "Jamal Williams, MIT, looks good on paper." Derek made a sound that was hard to read. "We'll see," he said. They did not know that several employees were already watching. They did not know the CEO had just logged in from Singapore. They thought this would be just another interview. Jamal checked the time. 2 minutes until the call started. He closed his eyes and took another deep breath. He had prepared for weeks. He knew his answers. He knew his worth. He had practiced talking about his achievements without sounding arrogant. He had prepared questions to ask them too. His computer chimed. The meeting link was active. Jamal clicked to join. His face appeared on his screen. He checked his background one more time. Clean wall, good lighting. Professional. He waited for the interviewers to appear. Derek and Lisa's faces popped up on the screen. They both smiled. "Good morning, Jamal," Lisa said. Her voice was friendly. "Good morning," Jamal replied, smiling back. "Thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to be here." "We're excited to meet you too," Derek said, but something in his tone did not match his words. Jamal noticed it but pushed the thought away. Maybe he was being too sensitive. Maybe he was imagining things. "Let's get started," Lisa said, looking at her notes. "We've reviewed your application. Very impressive background. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?" Jamal launched into his prepared introduction. He talked about his education, his experience, his passion for technology. He mentioned specific projects he had worked on. He explained how he had led a team of 5 engineers at his last company to develop a new security system. That system had won an industry award. Derek and Lisa listened. They nodded at appropriate times. They smiled when expected. On the surface, everything seemed normal. But in Singapore, Min Jun Park watched carefully. He had learned to read people over his years in business. Something about the interviewer's body language bothered him. He could not quite identify what it was yet. In the Tech Vista office, a few employees watched the internal broadcast during their break. One of them was Sarah Chen, a junior developer. She was 25 and had joined the company 6 months ago. She watched because she was curious about the hiring process. She wanted to understand what had made her own interview successful. "Tell us about your experience with cloud architecture," Lisa asked. This was Jamal's specialty. His face lit up as he began to explain. He talked about systems he had designed. He discussed problems he had solved. He used clear examples and showed deep understanding. Derek and Lisa exchanged a quick glance. The camera caught it, though Jamal did not notice. Sarah Chen noticed. Something about that look made her uncomfortable. The interview continued. Jamal answered every question with confidence and knowledge. He was doing well. He could feel it. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe this company would see his value and judge him only on his skills. But in that conference room in Boston, Derek shifted in his chair. Lisa tapped her pen on the desk. And thousands of miles away in Singapore, CEO Min Jun Park leaned closer to his screen. He had seen that glance between the interviewers. He had seen looks like that before. In his gut, he felt something was wrong. The interview was just beginning. None of them knew what would happen in the next hour. None of them knew that this conversation would change everything. For Jamal, for Derek and Lisa, for Tech Vista, and for many people beyond that conference room. The clock on the wall ticked forward. The camera kept recording, and the truth was about to reveal itself in ways no one expected. The interview moved into technical questions. Lisa asked about programming languages. Jamal answered smoothly. He explained his experience with Python, Java, JavaScript, and several others. He gave specific examples of projects where he had used each one. "That's quite a list," Derek said. His tone was hard to read. "You must have spent a lot of time learning all of these." Jamal nodded. "Yes, I believe in continuous learning. Technology changes fast, so I make sure to stay current." Lisa wrote something down. "Let's talk about your time at your previous company. You mentioned leading a team. How many people reported to you?" Jamal sat up straighter. "I had 5 direct reports. We worked on a security system for financial institutions." "And you managed all of them yourself?" Derek asked. There was something in his voice, a hint of doubt. Jamal felt it but answered professionally. "Yes, I handled the technical direction, code reviews, and team coordination. We delivered the project 3 weeks ahead of schedule." Derek and Lisa looked at each other again. This time the look lasted longer. Jamal definitely noticed it. His stomach tightened slightly. He had seen looks like that before, but he kept his expression calm and continued. "Tell us about your involvement in diversity initiatives," Lisa said, reading from her notes. "I see here you started a program at your last company." Jamal felt proud of this work. "Yes, I founded a mentorship program for underrepresented groups in tech. We paired junior developers with senior engineers. It was very successful. Retention rates improved by 30%. Derek leaned back in his chair. That's interesting, so you're passionate about diversity. The way he said the word diversity made it sound different. Not positive, not negative, just different. Jamal nodded. I believe everyone deserves opportunities based on their merit and skills. Of course, Lisa said quickly. We absolutely agree with that here at Tech Vista. But her smile seemed forced now. Jamal was starting to feel uncomfortable. The energy of the interview had shifted. He could not point to one specific thing, just a feeling. Let's go back to your technical skills, Derek said. You mentioned you have 3 patents. Can you explain what those are? Jamal was happy to change the subject. He described each patent in detail, the problems they solved, the innovative approaches he had developed, the impact on the industry. As Jamal spoke, Derek interrupted. So when you say you developed these, you mean you worked on a team that developed them, right? Jamal paused. No, I was the primary inventor on all 3. I had team members who helped with implementation, but the core concepts were mine. Derek nodded slowly. I see. That's quite impressive for someone your age. The comment seemed like a compliment, but it felt wrong, like Derek was questioning whether it was really possible. Lisa jumped in. And these patents were filed while you were at your previous companies? Jamal confirmed this. Yes, both companies I worked for supported my research and development work. Lisa made a note. Did you have supervisors overseeing this work? Jamal was confused by the question. Of course I had supervisors, but I was the lead engineer on these projects. The patents list me as the primary inventor because I created the underlying technology. He was explaining something that should have been obvious from his application. Derek and Lisa exchanged another glance. In Singapore, Min Jun Park was now sitting very still. He was watching the interviewers more than the candidate. Something was definitely wrong with how they were conducting this interview. Sarah Chen, watching from her desk at Tech Vista, felt her concern growing too. She had been in tech for 3 years. She had seen this pattern before. The way they kept questioning Jamal's achievements. The subtle doubt in their voices. She opened a chat window and sent a message to her friend Marcus in engineering. Are you watching this interview? She typed. Marcus replied immediately. Yeah, something feels off. They're being weird with this guy. Sarah bit her lip. I think we should tell someone. Marcus sent back a thinking emoji. The interview continued. Lisa asked about Jamal's approach to problem solving. He gave a detailed answer describing his methodology. He talked about how he breaks down complex problems into smaller pieces, how he tests different solutions, how he documents his work. As Jamal was speaking, Derek suddenly interrupted. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. He then repeated Jamal's explanation, but in simpler terms, as if Jamal had not been clear, as if Jamal needed Derek to translate his own words. Jamal stopped talking. He blinked. He had just explained something perfectly clearly. Why was Derek acting like he needed to simplify it? Yes, Jamal said slowly. That's exactly what I just said. Great, Derek replied, not seeming to notice anything wrong. I just wanted to clarify for our notes. But Lisa nodded as if Derek had done something helpful, as if Jamal's original explanation had somehow been inadequate. This happened twice more in the next 10 minutes. Jamal would give a detailed, clear answer. Then Derek or Lisa would interrupt to clarify by saying the same thing in different words. Each time, it felt more insulting, like they did not trust him to communicate properly. Jamal felt his frustration building, but he kept his voice steady and professional. He had learned long ago that showing anger would only make things worse, so he smiled and nodded and continued answering their questions. Let's talk about cultural fit, Lisa said. Jamal's heart sank. He hated that phrase. It was often code for something else. What does cultural fit mean to you? He asked carefully. Lisa seemed caught off guard by the question. Well, it means how well someone fits with the existing team. You know, communication styles, work habits, that kind of thing. Jamal nodded. I'm very adaptable. I've worked successfully with diverse teams at multiple companies. My references can speak to my collaboration skills. I'm sure they can, Derek said, but sometimes it's about more than skills. It's about whether someone really belongs in a certain environment. The words hung in the air. Belongs. Jamal felt something cold in his chest. Can you give me an example of what you mean? Jamal asked, keeping his tone neutral. Derek seemed to realize he had said something problematic. I just mean that team chemistry is important. We want to make sure everyone works well together. Lisa quickly added, we have a very collaborative culture here. People need to be team players. Jamal wanted to point out that he had already demonstrated his teamwork skills, that he had led successful teams, that his references praised his collaboration. But he just said, I understand. I work very well in team environments. The interview moved on. Lisa asked about his experience with a specific technology. Jamal began to explain, but she interrupted after just 2 sentences. Sorry, let me stop you there. What about this other aspect? Jamal tried to answer, but she interrupted again. And what about performance? This kept happening. Every time Jamal tried to give a complete answer, one of them would interrupt. They would not let him finish his thoughts. It felt deliberate, like they were not really interested in what he had to say. In Singapore, Min Jun Park was now making notes. He had conducted hundreds of interviews himself. This was not how you treated a strong candidate. This was not how you treated any candidate. The interruptions, the questioning of clear achievements, the subtle implications that Jamal was not being truthful or clear. Sarah Chen had seen enough. She recorded a clip of the last few minutes and opened a direct message to CEO Min Jun Park. She'd only messaged him once before, when she had an urgent security concern. She hoped he would not think she was overstepping. Mr. Park, I think you should watch the current interview if you're available. Something concerning is happening. She attached the clip and hit send. Her heart pounded. She might be making a big mistake, or she might be doing the right thing. Back in the interview, Derek asked about Jamal's salary expectations. Jamal gave a range based on market research and his experience level. It was reasonable, perhaps even slightly below what someone with his background could demand. That's quite high, Lisa said, raising her eyebrows. Jamal was confused. The job posting had listed a salary range, and his request was right in the middle of it. The posting indicated that range would be appropriate for this position, he said carefully. Well, we have to consider total compensation, not just salary, Derek said. And we need to make sure expectations are realistic. Realistic. As if Jamal was asking for something unreasonable. As if his 3 patents, his MIT degree, his 5 years of experience, his proven leadership did not warrant a competitive salary. Jamal felt tired suddenly. Tired of explaining. Tired of defending his worth. Tired of being questioned at every turn. But he maintained his composure. I'm open to discussing the complete compensation packages, he said. My main priority is finding the right opportunity to contribute and grow. Derek's hand moved toward his keyboard. We're just going to mute ourselves for a moment. We'll be right back. The screen showed both Derek and Lisa still visible, but a mute icon appeared. Jamal sat back in his chair and took a deep breath. He reached for his water bottle and took a long drink. That had been exhausting. The interview itself was not technically difficult, but the atmosphere had been draining. All those Derek leaned back in his chair, confident that the microphone was muted. He looked at Lisa with a smirk. Well, what do you think? He asked. His voice was clear. Every word carried through the speakers. But he did not know that. Lisa rolled her eyes and laughed quietly. Oh, where do I even start? Mr. Fancy my tea degree. She said it mockingly like it was a joke. Derek nodded. Right? I'm sure that had nothing to do with diversity quotas. Jamal froze. His hand was still on his water bottle. Had he heard that correctly? He looked at his screen. Their lips were moving. He could hear them. They thought they were muted, but they were not. Derek continued talking. 3 patents. Give me a break. You know how that works. He probably had a senior engineer doing the real work and they put his name on it to look good. Lisa laughed harder. Exactly what I was thinking. There's no way he came up with all that on his own. Jamal's heart started pounding. This was really happening. They were really saying these things. He wanted to say something to interrupt them, but he could not move. He was frozen, listening to them tear apart everything he had worked for. And that mentorship program for diversity, Lisa said, using air quotes even though no one was supposed to see her. Of course he started that. They always make everything about race. Derek shook his head. I know, it's like, just do your job. Why does everything have to be about diversity initiatives? At Tech Vista, Sarah Chen's eyes went wide. She grabbed her phone and started recording the screen. Her hands were shaking. She could not believe what she was hearing. Around the office, other employees who were watching began to notice too. Messages started flying in the company chat. Are you hearing this? One person typed. Someone record this. Another wrote. Where is HR? This is insane. A third added. The chat was exploding with shocked reactions. In Singapore, Min Jun Park sat forward, his jaw tight. He had suspected something was off. But this was worse than he imagined. Much worse. He immediately started recording on his end as well. Back in the conference room, Derek was still talking. Did you notice how articulate he was? He said the word articulate in a strange way, like it was surprising, like it was unusual. Lisa caught his meaning and nodded. Oh yes, very well spoken. For someone from his background, Jamal felt sick. He had heard that word before. Articulate. People always seemed so surprised when he spoke well, as if they expected something different, as if his education and intelligence were somehow unexpected. So what are we going to do? Lisa asked. Derek sighed. We can't hire him. Can you imagine him on the team? It would be a disaster, Lisa agreed. Total culture fit issue. He'd probably make everything uncomfortable, always talking about diversity and racism. Right, Derek said. We need someone who just focuses on work, not someone who's going to cause problems. He made a gesture with his hands like quotation marks. We need someone who really earned their position, you know what I mean? Lisa understood perfectly. So we tell him no. But how do we word it so it doesn't seem like discrimination? Derek thought for a moment. Easy. We say we're looking for someone with more leadership experience, or that his skills don't quite match our current needs. But his skills are perfect for this job, Lisa pointed out. Derek shrugged. So we say the team dynamic isn't right. We can make up any reason. Just nothing they can use against us legally. Lisa smiled. You're good at this. Jamal felt like he was going to throw up. They were planning how to reject him while making sure they could not get sued. They were not even pretending to judge him on his merits. They had decided before the interview really began. Derek started talking about Jamal's patents again. I still can't believe he thinks we're going to buy that he invented all that technology himself. Come on. Someone at MIT probably gave him special help, or he had a team doing the real work while he took credit. Affirmative action all the way, Lisa added. That's how he got into MIT, that's how he got his jobs. That's how he got those patents on his resume. None of it was really earned. Derek nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. And now he wants us to give him a senior position and pay him that much money? For what, for checking a diversity box? Jamal's hands clenched into fists. Every muscle in his body was tense. He had worked so hard, stayed up countless nights studying, pushed through discrimination and doubt, earned every single achievement on his resume. And these two people were dismissing all of it, reducing his entire career to nothing but race. At Tech Vista, Sarah Chen had seen enough. She sent another urgent message to Min Jun Park with a longer clip. This is still going on. They don't know they're being recorded. Please watch this immediately. She marked it as urgent and sent it to 3 other executives as well. Other employees were gathering around computers now, watching together. Some were angry. Some were shocked. Some were uncomfortable. But everyone agreed this was very wrong. Derek looked at his watch. We should probably get back to him. What should we say? Lisa thought for a moment. Let's be really nice. Thank him for his time. Tell him we have other candidates to interview. We'll be in touch. The usual brush off. Perfect, Derek said. And then we'll send him a rejection email tomorrow. Something generic about finding a better fit. Lisa started laughing. A better fit? That's good. We're not discriminating. We just found someone who's a better fit for our culture. They both laughed at that. Like it was funny. Like they were clever for finding legal language to hide their discrimination. Derek reached for his keyboard. Okay, let's unmute and wrap this up. But before he clicked the button, he said one more thing. You know what the worst part is? He probably thinks he actually has a chance. He probably thinks that MIT degree and those made-up patents actually mean something. Lisa nodded. They all do. They think we don't see right through it. Jamal heard every word. His professional mask was cracking. He was good at staying calm. He had practice. But this was too much. These people were not just biased. They were cruel. They were mocking him, making jokes about his achievements, his education, his entire life. In Singapore, Min Jun Park was no longer sitting. He was pacing his hotel room, watching the screen. His face was red with anger. This was his company. He had built Tech Vista to be different, to be better, and these two people were destroying everything he believed in. He grabbed his phone and called his assistant back in Boston. Book me on the next flight home. I don't care what it costs. I need to be there tomorrow morning. His assistant could hear the anger in his voice. Is everything okay, Mr. Park? She asked. No, he said. Everything is not okay, and I'm going to fix it. He paused. Schedule an emergency all-hands meeting for tomorrow at 9. Everyone needs to be there. No exceptions. His assistant started typing. Should I tell people what it's about? No, Min Jun said. And do not tell Derek Hamilton or Lisa Morrison about this meeting until the morning. I don't want them to have time to prepare. His assistant was surprised but agreed. Yes, sir. I'll make the arrangements. Min Jun hung up and looked back at his laptop. Derek and Lisa were unmuting now. They had huge fake smiles on their faces, getting ready to lie to Jamal, getting ready to pretend everything was fine. Derek's voice came through, sounding friendly and professional. Sorry about that, Jamal. Thanks for waiting. Jamal took a breath and put his professional mask back on. No problem, he said. His voice was steady, but inside he was screaming. We just wanted to discuss a few things about the position, Lisa said sweetly. We're very impressed with your background. The lie came so easily to her. She had just spent 5 minutes mocking everything about him. Thank you, Jamal said. He was not sure what else to say. Should he tell them he heard everything? Should he confront them, or should he just finish this interview and leave? Derek continued. We have a few more candidates to interview over the next week. We'll be reviewing everyone and making a decision soon. We'll definitely be in touch. More lies. They had no intention of being in touch except to send a rejection. I appreciate that, Jamal said. I'm very interested in this position and I think I would be a strong asset to your team. He wanted to add that he had earned every single thing on his resume, that his achievements were real, that he deserved to be treated with respect, but he did not. We can see that, Lisa said, her fake smile growing wider. You've certainly accomplished a lot. We'll be in contact soon with next steps. Derek nodded along. Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for your time today, Jamal. Thank you for the opportunity, Jamal said. He moved his mouse to end the call but stopped. He looked at both of them on his screen. They had no idea he had heard them. They thought they had gotten away with it. They thought they were so clever. Have a great day, Derek said. You too, Jamal replied. And then he clicked the button to leave the meeting. His screen went black. He sat there for a long moment staring at nothing. Then the emotions hit him. Anger, hurt, frustration, disappointment. He had been through discrimination before, but never quite like this. Never so blatant. Never so cruel. He put his head in his hands and tried to breathe. His phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown. Min Jun Park sat in his hotel room in Singapore, his phone pressed to his ear. On the other end, Jamal Williams was quiet. Min Jun could hear him breathing, processing everything. Mr. Williams, are you still there? He asked gently. Yes, Jamal finally said. His voice was tired. I'm here. I'm just trying to understand what's happening. Min Jun felt a deep sadness. He knew that feeling. The confusion when people judge you not for your work, but for who you are. I watched your entire interview from the beginning, Min Jun explained. I saw how qualified you are. I saw how Derek and Lisa treated you, and then I heard what they said when they thought no one was listening. He paused. I heard every single word. Jamal made a sound that was almost a laugh, but not quite. So I'm not crazy. That really happened. Min Jun's jaw tightened. Yes, it really happened. And I am more sorry than I can express. This is not what Tech Vista stands for. This is not what I built this company to be. They talked for 20 minutes. Minjun asked Jamal how he was feeling. Jamal was honest, hurt, angry, tired. Minjun listened without interrupting. He did not make excuses. He did not try to minimize what happened. He just listened. I need you to trust me, Minjun finally said. I know that's asking a lot right now, but I am going to fix this, not with empty words, with real action. And I want you there to see it. Jamal was quiet again. What do you mean? Come to our office tomorrow morning at 9, Minjun said. I'm flying back tonight. There's going to be a meeting. An important one. I want you there. Jamal hesitated. I don't know if I can face them again. Minjun understood. You won't have to face them alone. You'll have me beside you, and by the end of tomorrow, things will be different. I promise you that. After they hung up, Minjun sat for a long moment. Then he opened his laptop and watched the interview again. This time he paid attention to every detail. Every microaggression, every subtle insult, every moment where Derek and Lisa questioned Jamal's achievements. Minjun knew these tactics. He had experienced them himself. 20 years ago, when he first came to America from South Korea, people had doubted him too. They questioned his English even though he was fluent. They questioned his degree from Seoul National University. They questioned his business ideas. He remembered sitting in meetings where people talked over him, where they acted surprised that he understood complex concepts, where they made jokes about his accent, where they suggested his success was due to luck or help from others, never his own intelligence and hard work. That was why he had started TechVista. He wanted to build a company that was different, a company where people were judged by their abilities, not their background, a company where everyone had a fair chance. And now 2 of his employees had violated that vision in the worst possible way. Minjun made more phone calls. He called his head of security and asked for all recordings of the interview. He called his lawyer and explained the situation. He called his head of HR and told her what happened. She was horrified. Mr. Park, I had no idea, she said. Lisa reports to me. I thought she was professional. I never saw any signs of this. Minjun believed her. Racists were often good at hiding their true beliefs from people in power. We'll discuss it more when I get back. For now, I need you to prepare some things. He gave her instructions. Pull Derek and Lisa's complete employment records. Review all their past hiring decisions. Look for patterns. Check if there had been any previous complaints that were ignored. She promised to have everything ready by morning. Minjun then called his executive assistant. I need you to send an email to the entire company. Tell them there's a mandatory all-hands meeting at 9 tomorrow morning. Everyone must attend either in person or remotely. No exceptions. His assistant started typing. What should I say it's about? Just say it's an urgent company matter, Minjun replied. And make sure Derek Hamilton and Lisa Morrison don't find out about the meeting until 8:30 tomorrow morning. I want them to have as little warning as possible. His assistant agreed, though she was clearly curious. Minjun checked the time. His flight left in 3 hours. He needed to pack, get to the airport, and prepare himself mentally for what he was about to do. He was about to fire 2 people in front of the entire company. It was not something he took lightly, but some actions were so wrong that they required public consequences. Derek and Lisa had humiliated Jamal publicly. They had broadcast their racism to dozens of employees. This could not be handled quietly in a private office. The whole company needed to see that such behavior would not be tolerated. He thought about the company culture he had worked so hard to build. For 10 years, he had tried to create something special, but clearly he had failed in some ways. Derek had been with the company for 3 years, Lisa for 2 years. How had he missed this? How had they hidden their prejudices for so long? Minjun opened the company's internal chat. Hundreds of messages were still flowing. Employees were angry, shocked, and demanding action. Some were saying they would quit if nothing was done. Others were sharing their own experiences of feeling uncomfortable around Derek or Lisa. One message caught his attention. It was from Marcus, a senior black engineer who had been with the company for 5 years. I always felt weird around Derek during my annual reviews, like he was looking for reasons to criticize me. Now I understand why. How many of us has he held back? Another message from Priya, an Indian woman in product management. Lisa once told me I should be grateful for my opportunities here. At the time, I thought it was just a weird comment. Now I see it differently. She never said that to my white colleagues. Minjun felt sick. This was worse than one bad interview. This was a pattern. Derek and Lisa had been spreading their poison throughout the company. How many good employees had they rejected? How many current employees had they treated unfairly? He began typing a response in the company chat. "This is Min-jun Park. I have seen the interview. I have heard what was said. I am flying back tonight. There will be a meeting tomorrow at 9. I promise you all that this will be addressed fully and publicly. Thank you to everyone who spoke up. Your voices matter." The responses came immediately. People thanked him. People expressed relief that he was taking it seriously. People shared more stories. Min-jun read them all. He saved screenshots of everything. This would all be part of the investigation. Sarah Chen sent him a private message. "Mr. Park, thank you for responding so quickly. I have the full recording saved in multiple places. I also have recordings of other concerning moments from past meetings with Derek and Lisa. Should I send them to you?" Min-jun replied immediately. "Yes, please send everything. And thank you, Sarah. You did the right thing by reporting this." He made a mental note. Sarah needed to be recognized and probably promoted. Speaking up took courage, especially for a junior employee. The flight from Singapore to Boston was long. 14 hours. Min-jun tried to sleep but could not. His mind kept replaying the interview. Derek's smug voice saying Jamal probably got into MIT through quotas. Lisa laughing about his patents being fake. Both of them casually planning how to reject a brilliant candidate for racist reasons. He thought about his own journey. Coming to America at 25 with big dreams and little money. Working 2 jobs while getting his MBA. Starting his first company and watching it fail. Learning from his mistakes. Starting Tech Vista and building it slowly, carefully, with purpose. He had faced discrimination at every step. Investors who would not take meetings with him. Customers who questioned whether he really understood American business. Competitors who made racist jokes at industry events. He had pushed through all of it. And he had promised himself that when he had power, he would use it to make things better. He would create opportunities for people like him. People like Jamal. People who were constantly underestimated and disrespected because of how they looked or where they came from. Derek and Lisa had violated that promise. They had turned his company into exactly the kind of place he hated. And tomorrow he would make sure everyone understood that such behavior had no place at Tech Vista. The plane landed in Boston at 6 in the morning. Min-jun went straight to the office. It was still early. Only a few employees were there. They looked at him with surprise. He was supposed to be in Singapore for another 3 days. "Good morning, Mr. Park," the security guard said. "Welcome back." Min-jun nodded and headed to his office. He found the files his HR director had prepared. Derek's employment history, Lisa's performance reviews, records of their hiring decisions over the past few years. Lisa had similar patterns. She had also given lower performance reviews to employees of color compared to white employees with similar achievements. She had denied promotions. She had been harder on people during their probation periods. Min-jun's head of HR knocked on his door. She looked tired. She had probably been up all night pulling these records. "Mr. Park, I need to apologize. I should have caught this sooner. The patterns are obvious now, but I missed them." Min-jun shook his head. "We all missed it. They were careful. But that ends today." The conference room was completely silent. 500 employees, either present or watching remotely, waited for Min-jun Park to speak. Derek and Lisa sat in the front row, their confusion turning to visible nervousness. Jamal stood beside the CEO, trying to keep his emotions in check. Min-jun began speaking. "I want to start by reminding everyone why we built Tech Vista. 10 years ago, I had a vision. I wanted to create a company where talent mattered more than background, where people were judged by their skills and character, not by their appearance or where they came from." He paused and looked around the room. I believed we had succeeded in building that culture. I was proud of what we created together. But yesterday I learned that I was wrong. We have not succeeded. At least not completely. People shifted in their seats. The tension in the room grew thicker. Derek whispered something to Lisa. She whispered back. They were starting to panic. "Yesterday afternoon I was in Singapore for a business conference," Min-jun continued. "I decided to observe one of our interviews remotely. We have a new transparent hiring process, as many of you know. Employees can watch interviews to learn and understand how we select team members." Several people nodded. They had watched interviews before. It was a popular program. The candidate being interviewed was Jamal Williams. Minjun gestured to Jamal. Mr. Williams is a software engineer with a degree from MIT. He has 3 patents, 5 years of industry experience. Excellent references. On paper, he was exactly what we look for. Derek's face was getting red. Lisa's hands were gripping her chair. They knew where this was going now. The interview was conducted by Derek Hamilton and Lisa Morrison. Minjun's voice remained steady. At first, everything seemed normal. Standard questions. Professional behavior. But as the interview continued, I noticed something troubling. The tone changed. The questions became less about skills and more about questioning whether Mr. Williams truly earned his achievements. More people were leaning forward now. Those who had watched the interview yesterday knew what was coming. Those who had not were learning for the first time. Minjun continued. Mr. Williams was interrupted repeatedly. His clear answers were rephrased as if he had not communicated well. His impressive qualifications were questioned. And then, something happened that revealed the truth. He clicked a button on the podium. A screen behind him lit up. Derek and Lisa believed they had muted their microphones during a break. They had not. What they said next was heard by Mr. Williams, by dozens of employees watching the broadcast, and by me. Derek stood up suddenly. Mr. Park, I think there's been a misunderstanding. If we could talk about this privately. Minjun raised his hand. Sit down, Derek. Everyone in this room will hear what you said, just as Mr. Williams had to hear it. Derek slowly sat back down. His confident expression was gone. Lisa looked like she wanted to disappear. I'm going to play the audio now, Minjun said. I want everyone to hear exactly what was said. This is difficult to listen to, but it's important that we all understand what happened. He clicked another button. The speakers crackled. Then Derek's voice filled the room. Well, what do you think? There was a pause. Then Lisa's voice. Oh, where do I even start? Mr. Fancy MIT degree. Her mocking tone was clear. I'm sure that had nothing to do with diversity quotas. The room erupted in gasps and angry murmurs. Minjun held up his hand for silence. The audio continued. Derek's voice again. Right, 3 patents. Give me a break. You know how that works. He probably had a senior engineer doing the real work, and they put his name on it to look good. People were shaking their heads in disbelief. Some looked at Derek and Lisa with disgust. Others looked at Jamal with sympathy. He stood still, reliving the moment, feeling all the hurt again. The audio kept playing. Lisa laughing about the mentorship program. Derek dismissing Jamal's achievements as affirmative action. Both of them casually planning how to reject him while avoiding legal trouble. Their voices were relaxed, like they were discussing the weather. Like discrimination was just another part of their day. When the audio finally ended, the silence was deafening. No one spoke. No one moved. The words hung in the air like poison. Minjun let the silence continue for a moment. Then he spoke again. This is what Mr. Williams experienced yesterday. He sat in his home, having prepared thoroughly for this interview. He answered every question with professionalism and expertise, and in return he was mocked, dismissed, and discriminated against. Derek stood up again. This time his voice was desperate. That's not what we meant. It was taken out of context. We were just... Minjun's voice cut through like steel. There is no context that makes this acceptable. Sit down, Lisa tried next. Her voice was shaking. We were playing devil's advocate, testing our own biases. It was an exercise we learned in a training seminar. Minjun cut her off too. Do not insult everyone's intelligence with lies. You were not testing biases. You were expressing your true beliefs. He clicked the podium again. Another screen appeared. After hearing this audio, I asked my team to investigate. We pulled all hiring decisions made by Derek and Lisa over the past 3 years. We found patterns. The screen showed statistics, charts and graphs. Derek had rejected 70% of candidates of color who applied for positions. Lisa had given lower performance reviews to employees of color compared to white employees with similar achievements. The numbers were stark and undeniable. We also found something else, Minjun continued. Several employees have come forward since yesterday with their own experiences. They felt uncomfortable around Derek or Lisa, but could not quite explain why. Now they understand. The discomfort was real. The discrimination was real. It was just subtle enough to hide. Marcus, the senior black engineer, raised his hand. Minjun nodded at him. Marcus stood up. I want to say something. His voice was strong but emotional. I've worked here for 5 years. Derek conducted my annual reviews for the past 2 years. Both times he gave me lower ratings than my work deserved. He always found small things to criticize. I thought I was being too sensitive. Now I know I wasn't. Other people started speaking up. Priya shared her story about Lisa's comment. A Latino developer talked about being passed over for promotion, despite excellent performance. An Asian woman described feeling like she had to work twice as hard to get the same recognition. Derek and Lisa sat frozen. Their faces showed shock, anger, and fear. They tried to defend themselves, but no one wanted to hear it. The evidence was overwhelming. Their behavior had hurt many people over many years. Min-jun raised his hand again, asking for quiet. I started this company with values I believed in: integrity, respect, merit. These are not just words on our website. They are supposed to be how we operate every single day. He looked directly at Derek and Lisa. You violated every one of those values. You judged people not by their abilities but by their race. You created an environment where talented people felt unwelcome. You denied opportunities to qualified candidates for discriminatory reasons. And you did it all while pretending to uphold our company culture. Derek finally seemed to realize how serious this was. Mr. Park, please. I've been here for 3 years. I've worked hard for this company. I made a mistake. I said things I shouldn't have. But I can learn. I can change. His voice was pleading. Min-jun's expression did not change. You had 3 years to learn. You had countless opportunities to demonstrate respect for all people. Instead, you chose to discriminate. You chose to mock people behind their backs. You chose to deny opportunities based on race. Lisa tried too. I have a family. I need this job. Please, can't we handle this differently? Maybe suspension and training? Min-jun shook his head. You should have thought about your family before you discriminated against others. You should have thought about the families of the people whose careers you damaged. He turned to address the whole room again. Some actions cannot be fixed with training or second chances. Some actions reveal character so clearly that there is only one appropriate response. He took a breath. Effective immediately, Derek Hamilton and Lisa Morrison are terminated from Tech Vista. The room erupted. Some people applauded. Others gasped. A few cheered. Derek and Lisa both started talking at once, their voices loud and angry. But Min-jun was not finished. Security is waiting outside to escort you both from the building. You have 15 minutes to collect your personal belongings from your offices. Your access to all company systems has been revoked. You will receive information about your final paychecks and benefits through mail. Sarah Chen stood up from her seat. Her voice was clear and firm. No, Derek, everyone has not done what you did. Most of us would never mock someone's achievements. Most of us would never discriminate in hiring. Don't pretend your actions were normal. Other people voiced their agreement. The room was united against Derek and Lisa. They had lost all support, all credibility, all respect. Lisa was crying now. This isn't fair. You're ruining our lives over one mistake. Min-jun's voice was quiet but firm. You ruined your own lives by your choices. And it wasn't one mistake. It was a P. Jamal stood at the front of the room, looking at hundreds of faces. Some were familiar from watching the internal broadcast. Many were strangers. All of them were looking at him with sympathy, respect, or curiosity. He took a deep breath. I'm not sure what to say, he began. His voice was quiet at first. Yesterday was one of the hardest days of my professional life. I faced discrimination before. Most people who look like me in tech have. But what happened yesterday felt different. It felt more cruel. The room was completely silent. Everyone was listening. I worked hard my entire life, Jamal continued, his voice growing stronger. I studied when my friends were playing. I stayed up late learning programming languages. I pushed through classes where I was the only black student. I dealt with professors who doubted me and classmates who excluded me. I earned my degree from MIT. I earned my patents. I earned every single thing on my resume. Several people nodded. They understood that feeling of having to prove yourself constantly. And then I sat in that interview yesterday, and I heard 2 people dismiss all of it. They said my achievements were fake. They said I only got into MIT because of diversity quotas. They mocked my mentorship work. They planned how to reject me while making sure they wouldn't get sued. Jamal's voice cracked slightly. They made me feel worthless. A few people in the audience had tears in their eyes. Marcus, the senior engineer who had spoken earlier, nodded with understanding. But then something happened that I didn't expect, Jamal said, looking at Min-jun. The CEO called me. He apologized, he promised real action, and then he actually followed through. He brought me here to witness accountability, to see justice happen in real time. Jamal turned to face the whole room again. I'm 38 years old. In my career, I've reported discrimination exactly 4 times. Do you know what happened in those cases? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was told that the people didn't mean it that way, that I was being too sensitive, that maybe I misunderstood, that it was just a personality conflict. Several people in the room looked uncomfortable. They recognized that pattern. They had seen it before, maybe even participated in it. Companies talk about diversity and inclusion all the time, Jamal continued. They put statements on their websites. They sponsor events. They post pictures of diverse teams. But when actual discrimination happens, most of them do nothing meaningful. They protect the discriminators and ask the victims to be patient, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to wait for change that never comes. He paused. So when Mr. Park called me last night, I was skeptical. I've heard promises before. But this morning I saw something different. I saw a leader who backed up his words with actions, who didn't hide what happened or minimize it, who held people accountable publicly, the same way they discriminated publicly. Min-jun watched Jamal speak, his expression serious but supportive. I don't know if I'll work here, Jamal said honestly. I'm still hurt, I'm still processing what happened, but I'm grateful that at least this time the truth mattered. At least this time there were real consequences. That's rare, and it shouldn't be. The room erupted in applause. People stood up. Some were crying. Others were nodding vigorously. Sarah Chen was clapping so hard her hands hurt. Marcus whistled his approval. Jamal stepped back, feeling emotionally drained but also lighter somehow. He had spoken his truth. People had listened. That meant something. Min-jun returned to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Your courage in coming here today matters. He looked at the room. I want everyone to understand something. What we did today is not the end. It's the beginning. We have a lot of work to do to rebuild trust, to ensure this never happens again, to create the company we claim to be. He took a breath. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I'm embarrassed that this happened under my leadership, but I'm also committed. I built this company on values, and I will not let anyone destroy those values. Not Derek, not Lisa, not anyone. People were still standing, still applauding occasionally. The energy in the room had shifted. It was no longer just shock and anger. Now there was hope mixed in. Hope that real change might actually happen. If anyone else has experienced discrimination at Tech Vista, I want you to come forward, Min-jun said. You will be heard. You will be believed. And if your claims are valid, there will be consequences. I promise you that. He paused. This meeting is over, but my door is open. To everyone. People began filing out slowly. Many approached Jamal to shake his hand or thank him for speaking up. Sarah Chen introduced herself. I was the one who messaged Mr. Park yesterday. I'm so sorry for what you went through. Jamal shook her hand. Thank you. You did the right thing. Marcus came over too. Brother, I felt every word you said. I've been there. We've all been there. They talked for a few minutes, sharing experiences and finding common ground. Other employees of color gathered around telling similar stories. It was painful but also healing to be heard. After about 30 minutes, the room cleared out. Only Min-jun, Jamal, and a few executives remained. Min-jun's head of HR, Jennifer, approached Jamal carefully. Mr. Williams, I owe you an apology, Lisa reported to me. I should have caught the signs earlier. Jamal appreciated her honesty. It's not your fault they were good at hiding who they really were. Jennifer shook her head. Maybe. But I should have dug deeper when employees came to me with vague concerns. I dismissed things I shouldn't have. I'm going to do better. Min Jun suggested they move to his office to talk privately. Jamal followed him, still not sure what would happen next. The office was large but not overly fancy. There were pictures of Min Jun's family, awards from industry organizations, a wall of books about business and leadership. "Please sit," Min Jun said, gesturing to a comfortable chair. Jamal sat. Min Jun sat across from him, not behind his desk. He wanted this to feel like a conversation, not a business meeting. "I want to offer you the job," Min Jun said directly. "The position you interviewed for, senior software engineer, but I want to offer you more than what was in the original posting." Jamal was surprised. "What do you mean?" Min Jun pulled out a folder. "The original salary range was $120,000 to $150,000. I want to offer you $170,000, plus a $50,000 signing bonus, plus stock options that vest over 4 years. Jamal's eyes widened. That was significantly more than he had expected, more than he had asked for. "Why?" he asked simply. "Because you deserve it," Min Jun said. "Your qualifications are exceptional, but also because what happened yesterday caused you harm. Emotional harm, professional harm. The bonus is not payment for that harm. Nothing can truly compensate for discrimination. But I want you to know that I value you, and I want you here if you're willing to give us a chance." Jamal was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the offer letter Min Jun had slid across the table. The numbers were real. This was not a trick. "Can I be honest with you?" he finally asked. "Please," Min Jun said. "I don't know if I can work somewhere I was treated like that," Jamal admitted. "Every time I walk into the building, I'll remember what Derek and Lisa said. I'll wonder if other people think the same things but hide it better. I'll question whether people respect me or just tolerate me because they have to." Min Jun nodded slowly. "Those are valid concerns. I would feel the same way." He leaned forward. "Let me tell you something about myself. When I came to America, I worked at a company where the CEO made jokes about Asian people. To my face. He thought they were funny. He didn't see them as racist." Jamal listened carefully. "I had 2 choices," Min Jun continued. "Stay and try to change things, or leave and find somewhere better. I left. And for years I regretted it. Not because I wanted to work for a racist, but because I let him win. I let him push me out. I let him continue treating other Asian employees poorly because I wasn't there to fight back." He paused. "That's why I started Tech Vista. I wanted to create the place I wish had existed back then, a place where people like us could thrive. But I can't do it alone. I need people like you, people who will speak up, people who will hold me accountable, people who won't let me become comfortable and blind to problems." Jamal understood what Min Jun was saying, but it was still hard. What if there are more people like Derek and Lisa? What if this culture is deeper than 2 bad employees? "Then we'll find them and remove them too," Min Jun said firmly. "I'm not naive. I know that firing 2 people doesn't magically fix everything, but it sends a message, and the changes I announced today, those are real. I will follow through on every single one." Jamal picked up the offer letter and read it again. The compensation was generous, the role was exactly what he wanted, and Min Jun seemed genuinely committed to change. "But was that enough? Can I ask you something?" Jamal said. "What happens if I accept this offer? Some people will say I only got hired because of what happened. They'll say it's guilt money. They'll say I'm not actually qualified." Min Jun shook his head. "Anyone who says that doesn't understand merit. You were qualified before the—" Jamal left the Tech Vista building and walked for a while. He did not have a destination. He just needed to move, to think, to breathe. The morning had been intense. Watching Derek and Lisa get fired, speaking to the entire company, receiving a generous job offer. It was a lot to process. He found a coffee shop and sat by the window. His phone buzzed constantly. Text messages from friends who had heard about what happened. News outlets requesting interviews. LinkedIn messages from recruiters. The story was spreading fast. Someone had leaked parts of the audio online. It was going viral. Jamal turned off his phone. He needed quiet. He ordered coffee and just sat, watching people walk by outside, normal people living normal lives, not dealing with discrimination, not deciding whether to work for a company that had hurt them. After an hour, he turned his phone back on and called his mother. She answered on the first ring. "Baby, I've been waiting to hear from you. Are you okay?" Her voice was filled with concern and love. "I don't know, Mom," Jamal admitted. "I honestly don't know how I feel." He told her everything. The interview, the comments, the CEO's response, the firing, the job offer, all of it. His mother listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment. "What does your gut tell you?" she finally asked. "My gut says run," Jamal said honestly. "Walk away and find a company that didn't hurt me. But my head says this might be an opportunity. The CEO seems genuine, and I could help make real changes." "Both of those feelings are valid," his mother said. "You have every right to protect yourself. But you also have a chance to do something important." She paused. "Remember when you were young and that teacher said you weren't college material?" Jamal remembered. 5th grade. Mrs. Peterson had told his mother that Jamal was a nice boy, but probably not smart enough for advanced classes. His mother had fought the school. Got him tested. Proved Mrs. Peterson wrong. Jamal had gone on to excel in advanced placement classes throughout high school. "You told me later that you stayed in that school because you wanted to prove her wrong," his mother continued. "You could have transferred, but you said if you left she would keep underestimating other black kids, so you stayed and showed everyone what you could do." Jamal smiled slightly. He had forgotten that conversation. "I was stubborn even then." "You were brave," his mother corrected. "And you changed things." Mrs. Peterson became more open-minded. She started recommending more black students for advanced classes. "Your decision to stay helped others." She let that sink in. "Only you can decide what to do now. But think about what kind of impact you want to have." After they hung up, Jamal sat with his thoughts. His mother was right. He had always been someone who fought back rather than ran away. But this felt different, bigger, more public, more risky. The next day, Jamal went back to Tech Vista, not to accept the offer, just to talk to people, to get a sense of the real culture beyond Minjun's promises. He arrived at noon and texted Sarah Chen, the junior developer who had first reported the interview. Sarah met him in the lobby. "I'm so glad you came back," she said. "A bunch of us wanted to talk to you. Would you have lunch with us?" Jamal agreed. She led him to the cafeteria where about 15 employees were gathered. They had saved a table. They were diverse. Different races, genders, ages. Marcus was there, along with Priya and several others who had spoken up at the all-hands meeting. They welcomed Jamal warmly. "We wanted you to hear from us directly," Marcus explained, "about what it's really like to work here." For the next hour, they talked honestly. They shared their experiences, some positive, some negative. But everyone agreed that Minjun's response to the interview had been unprecedented. "I've worked at 5 tech companies," Marcus said. "I've never seen a CEO fire someone so quickly for discrimination. Usually they protect the managers and quietly push out the victim." Priya nodded. "When I reported Lisa's comment about being grateful, HR told me she probably didn't mean it that way. They did nothing. But now they're investigating all her past interactions. They're taking it seriously because Mr. Park is forcing them to." A young woman named Angela, who was black like Jamal, spoke up. "I'm not going to lie. It's not perfect here. I've had moments where I felt excluded or underestimated. But compared to other tech companies I've worked at, Tech Vista is better, especially now that Mr. Park is making these changes." Sarah added her perspective. "I'm Chinese American. I've had people assume I'm good at math and bad at communication. I've had people act surprised when I lead meetings. But when I reported that Derek made a weird comment to me once, Mr. Park's office followed up within a day. They took it seriously." Jamal listened to all of them. What struck him was their honesty. They were not trying to sell him on the company. They were sharing real experiences, good and bad. That felt trustworthy. "Can I ask you something?" Jamal said. "If I take this job, some people will think I only got hired because of what happened. How do I deal with that?" Marcus laughed without humor. "Man, people already think we only got our jobs because of diversity programs. That never goes away. What matters is proving them wrong with your work." Several others nodded in agreement. Angela leaned forward. "Here's the thing. You're going to face that assumption anywhere, At least here you have a CEO who has your back, who proved he'll fire people for discrimination. That's valuable. After lunch, Jamal asked to tour the office. Sarah gave him a walkthrough. She introduced him to different teams. He met engineers, product managers, designers. Most people were friendly. Some recognized him from the news. Others had no idea who he was. He noticed the small things. The diversity among teams. The photos on desks showing families of all kinds. The prayer room for Muslim employees. The accessibility features for disabled workers. Tech Vista was not perfect, but they were trying. Jamal also met Jennifer, the head of HR. She invited him to her office to talk. "I want to be transparent with you," she said. "We've completed an initial investigation into Derek and Lisa's past behavior. We found 12 candidates of color who were rejected for questionable reasons. We found 8 current employees who had complaints dismissed or minimized." She looked genuinely distressed. "I failed those people. I should have caught the patterns earlier. I should have pushed back when Lisa gave me vague reasons for rejections. I didn't, and I'm ashamed of that." Jamal appreciated her honesty. "What are you doing about it now?" "We're reaching out to all 12 rejected candidates and offering to redo their interviews with different panels," Jennifer explained. "We're meeting with the 8 employees who made complaints to hear their full stories. And we're implementing the new policies Mr. Park announced, plus additional training for all HR staff." She paused. "I'm also stepping back from some of my responsibilities. We're hiring an external diversity consultant to audit our processes. I'll work with them, but they'll have authority to make changes even if I disagree, because clearly my judgment wasn't good enough." That impressed Jamal. It would be easy for Jennifer to make excuses or defend her past decisions. Instead, she was owning her failures and making space for outside perspective. He spent the rest of the afternoon talking to more people. Some shared concerns. A few admitted they had been friends with Derek or Lisa and were struggling with the public firings. One guy, a white senior engineer named Brad, was blunt. "I think what they said was wrong, but firing them seems harsh. People make mistakes." Jamal looked at him steadily. "Would you call years of discrimination a mistake?" Brad shifted uncomfortably. "I guess not when you put it that way." Jamal pushed a little. "And if they had discriminated against you, would you want them to keep their jobs?" Brad thought about it. "No, I wouldn't." He seemed to realize something. "Okay, I get it. Thanks for talking to me." It was a small moment, but it showed that some people were learning. By the time Jamal left that evening, he had a clearer picture. Tech Vista had problems, but they also had people willing to do the work to fix those problems. That was more than he could say about most companies. The next day, Jamal did more research. He looked up articles about Tech Vista, reviews from current and former employees, lawsuits if any. He wanted the full picture. What he found was encouraging. Most reviews praised the culture. A few complained about typical startup challenges like long hours or unclear processes, but there were no other discrimination lawsuits, no patterns of racist behavior beyond Derek and Lisa. Jamal called some of his mentors, people he trusted in the industry. He told them the situation and asked for advice. Most said similar things. This was a rare opportunity, a chance to work at a place that had proven they would take discrimination seriously, a chance to have real influence on policy and culture. One mentor, a black woman named Dr. Anderson, who was a professor at MIT, said something that stuck with him. "Jamal, you can spend your whole career trying to avoid racism, but it's everywhere in tech. Or you can find places willing to fight it and help them do better. That's where real change happens." On the 3rd day after the meeting, Jamal woke up knowing what he wanted to do. He got dressed, went to his laptop, and started writing an email to Minjun Park. Here, 6 months had passed since that horrible interview. 6 months since Derek and Lisa were fired. 6 months since Jamal had nervously accepted the job offer. Now he stood in a Tech Vista conference room, leading his first major project presentation to the entire engineering team. As you can see from these metrics, the new authentication system reduces login time by 40% while increasing security by 30%. Jamal explained, clicking through his slides. The room was full. People were taking notes, asking good questions, treating him with the respect his work deserved. After the presentation, several engineers came up to congratulate him. "This is exactly what we needed," one said. Another added, "Great work, Jamal, really impressive." He smiled and thanked them. These were genuine compliments based on actual work. not surprised that he was articulate, not questioning whether he had done it himself. Just professional recognition. Marcus walked over and gave him a fist bump. Killing it, man. As always, Jamal laughed. Thanks. This project was a team effort, though. Everyone contributed, that was true. His team of 7 engineers had worked hard, and Jamal had learned he was good at leadership, bringing out the best in people. Sarah Chen poked her head into the conference room. Hey Jamal, don't forget the council meeting at 3. He nodded. I'll be there. The Diversity and Inclusion Council had become one of the most important parts of his job. They met twice a month to review company practices and recommend changes. As Jamal walked through the Tech Vista office, he noticed the changes everywhere. The walls now displayed posters celebrating diversity in tech. There was a new mentorship program that had already paired 20 junior employees with senior leaders. The hiring panels were diverse, with at least 3 people from different backgrounds interviewing each candidate. But the most important changes were the ones you could not see on walls. The culture had shifted. People were more aware, more willing to speak up when something felt wrong, more committed to fairness. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was better. Jamal stopped by Jennifer's office. She was on the phone but waved him in. He sat and waited. She finished her call and turned to him with a smile. How did the presentation go? She asked. Really well, Jamal said. The team is excited about the rollout. Jennifer nodded. I heard. Several people have already messaged me about how impressive it was. She pulled up something on her computer. Speaking of impressive, I wanted to share some data with you. She turned the screen so Jamal could see. Charts showed hiring statistics over the past 6 months. The number of candidates of color had increased by 60%. The number actually hired had increased by 55%. Retention rates for employees of color had improved by 40%. These changes are largely because of the new policies you helped implement, Jennifer said. The diverse interview panels, the structured evaluation rubrics, the bias training, it's all working. Jamal felt proud but cautious. That's great, but we need to make sure it sticks, that it doesn't just become a temporary response to what happened. I agree, Jennifer said. That's why I'm proposing we make your council role permanent and expand it. We need dedicated staff focused on this work full-time, not just volunteers from other departments. Jamal liked that idea. Let's discuss it at the meeting today. At 3 o'clock, the Diversity and Inclusion Council gathered. Besides Jamal, there were 8 other members. Marcus, Priya, Angela, 3 other employees from different backgrounds and departments, and 2 external consultants who provided expertise and accountability. Min-Jun Park joined the meeting as well. He attended every council meeting, something Jamal appreciated. The CEO could have delegated this work, but he showed up personally. That sent a message to the whole company about priorities. Before we start with the agenda, I want to share something, Min-Jun said. He pulled up an email on the screen. This came in yesterday from one of the candidates Derek rejected 2 years ago. Her name is Monica Harris. She's a black software engineer with 10 years of experience. He read the email aloud. Dear Mr. Park, I saw the news about Tech Vista 6 months ago. I was one of the people Derek Hamilton rejected after an interview, where I felt discriminated against. I assumed nothing would come of it. But your team reached out to me, apologized, and invited me to interview again with a new panel. I just accepted an offer to join your team. Thank you for proving that accountability matters. The room was quiet for a moment. Then people started smiling. This was why they did this work. For people like Monica who deserved a fair chance. Monica starts next month, Min-Jun added. She'll be on the security team. Jamal, I'd like you to mentor her during her first few months. Jamal agreed immediately. I'd be honored. The council moved through their agenda. They reviewed recent hiring decisions, looking for any red flags. They discussed employee feedback from anonymous surveys. They planned new training programs. They debated policy changes. It was detailed, sometimes tedious work, but it mattered. One topic generated significant discussion. A manager in the sales department had made a comment that several employees found offensive. It was not as clear-cut as what Derek and Lisa had done, but it raised concerns. The council debated how to handle it. We can't fire everyone who makes a mistake, one member argued. People need room to learn and grow. Jamal understood that perspective, but he also knew that patterns mattered. Let's look at this manager's history. Has there been feedback before? Have team members raised concerns? They dug into the data. It turned out there had been 2 previous complaints, both vague, both dismissed. This was starting to look like a pattern. I think we need a serious conversation with this manager, Jamal said. Clear expectations, concrete consequences if the behavior continues, and close monitoring, the council agreed. Minjun made a note. I'll handle that conversation personally tomorrow. That was another thing Jamal appreciated. Minjun did not delegate the hard conversations. He dealt with them directly. After the council meeting, Jamal had a one-on-one with Minjun. They did this weekly to ensure Jamal felt supported. How are you doing? Minjun asked. Really, not just professionally, but emotionally. Jamal thought about it. Better than I expected, he said honestly. The first month was hard. Every time I walked into the building, I thought about that interview. But it's getting easier, and I feel like I'm making a difference. Minjun nodded. You are, more than you probably realize. He paused. I want to talk to you about something. We're creating a new role, VP of Diversity and Inclusion. I'd like you to consider it. Jamal was stunned. VP, I've only been here 6 months. Minjun smiled. And in those 6 months, you've transformed how we think about hiring, retention, and culture. You have the skills, the passion, the trust of employees. You'd be perfect for it. But I'm an engineer, Jamal protested. I love coding. I love building things, Minjun leaned forward. You can still code. This role is about building too. Building culture, building systems, building opportunities for others. Think about it, Jamal promised to consider it. It was a lot to process. He had not expected his career to take this direction, but then again, he had not expected any of this. That evening, Jamal stayed late to finish some code. The office was mostly empty. He liked the quiet. He was deep in concentration when someone knocked on his door. It was Brad, the engineer who had initially questioned whether Derek and Lisa deserved to be fired. Hey, Jamal, got a minute? Brad asked. Jamal nodded and gestured to a chair. Brad sat down, looking uncomfortable. I wanted to tell you something. 6 months ago, I thought you were overreacting. I thought Derek and Lisa made some bad comments but didn't deserve to lose their jobs. Jamal remembered that conversation. He stayed quiet, letting Brad continue. I was wrong, Brad said. Really wrong. I've spent the past few months educating myself, reading, listening, thinking about my own biases. And I realized I was part of the problem. I gave them the benefit of the doubt because they were like me. White. But I never gave people like you the same benefit. He looked genuinely remorseful. I'm sorry. For questioning you. For not understanding. For being part of a system that made you have to fight so hard for basic respect. Jamal was touched. I appreciate you saying that. That takes courage. That's all any of us can do, Jamal said. Keep trying. Keep learning. That's how things actually change. They talked for a while longer. Brad shared some of his own experiences and questions. Jamal appreciated the honesty. This was what progress looked like. Not perfection, but effort. After Brad left, Jamal opened his laptop and checked his personal email. There was a message from a young black student at MIT. Dear Mr. Williams, I heard about what happened to you and how you handled it. I'm a sophomore studying computer science. Sometimes I feel discouraged. Professors doubt me. Study groups exclude me. I wonder if I belong. But your story gave me hope. Thank you for not giving up. Jamal read the email 3 times. Then he wrote back. He told the student about his own struggles at MIT, about the times he felt alone, about how he pushed through. He offered to be a mentor if the student wanted one. He won.